Good morning, everyone, and also from my side, a warm welcome to the conference this year. Happy to be here again, and happy to give a presentation in the next 25-30 minutes. And yeah, this presentation will be split a little bit. What we will do today is give a short introduction about our company, 3 Systems, speak about new materials, new applications, so some innovative outlook, what we are currently doing in the field of implants. Then touch some highlights into point-of-care printing, share some latest success here, and then hand over to Matthias. He will give an outlook what we're currently doing in pharma 3D printing. I'm happy that you're here today as well. 3 Systems, who doesn't know me or who knows us? We started initially as Kumovis in 2017, a company that was founded to print high-performance polymers, focus on implants. Sold this off to 3 Systems last year, so now we are with 3 Systems. What is 3 Systems doing? So we have in the end 3-4 pillars. Of course, our hardware, so technology in across the AM field, powder bed, metals, different types of polymers. We'll share that a little bit. But we are also manufacturing implants ourselves. So we have 2 big sites, 13485 certified, where we are actually doing manufacturing for our customers, and work here with different medical OEMs. But also, as we can see here, hospitals is a big topic for us, so all the topic around point-of-care printing. Besides of the implant development and our hardware, we are also providing software solutions that we can create end-to-end solutions for dedicated applications. Starting a little bit quickly with an overview about our hardware and software portfolio. So we have software for image segmentation and design software for implants. We'll share that on one use case today about cranial implants, for example. And then, as I mentioned, a big portfolio of different printers. So our DMP technology for direct metal printing, figure 4 technology for photopolymers, then our platform that we brought into 3 Systems, the EXT220MET for extrusion printing, focused on peak and high performance polymers, and then a broad range of SLA, DLP, MJP technology. So all that is coming from 3 Systems. Only a few of these guys are going actually into a hospital, so we will share that also later on, because not every technology is actually suitable for the point of care. We have our technology also, we're using it also inside, so we have our medical headquarters in Denver, so Littleton, close to Denver. 13485 certified here, more than 30 metal printers over there. Main application here is spinal implants, actually. We have a second big facility in Leuven, Belgium, also 13485 certified, where we have all our technologies available and do manufacturing. And then the latest addition, the Munich site, which is not 13485 certified. We're doing here only development work for extrusion technology, high performance polymers. Speaking about this platform, it's called the EXT220MET. I will share some new materials we're working on, some new applications we're working on. It all started with PEEK, virgin PEEK, and dedicated to CMF implants. So our first application we were targeting were cranial implants, and we developed an end-to-end workflow for patient-specific implants. So end-to-end means we start with DICOM data sets and end with the final finished device. So developed here software workflow for image segmentation, also implant design, then validated the full workflow and deployed that already with some partners at the point of care. So having had already several successful surgeries this year actually for that application at the point of care, that will also be shared during the coming 2 days. The next applications we're working on are onlays and orbital floor implants. Orbital floor implants, they are pretty tricky as they have to be extremely thin, but also that is possible with our technology. So after virgin PEEKs, we're now stepping into enhanced PEEK materials. So mostly seen these for spine applications. So we're working with a BCP or an HA enhanced PEEK, meaning we have these calcium phosphate included into the PEEK matrix. So it's not a coating, it's really in the PEEK matrix. Features an improved osseointegration, and combine that with porous structures, we can create really new cool features of polymer implants, mainly targeting spine and down down here on the right side, you can see an SEM image of the surface of one of these implants. So all these whitish particles are actually the calcium phosphate particles, very well distributed in this polymer, and really improve the osseointegrative behavior compared to PEEK, because virgin PEEK has this one drawback compared to printed titanium, that we don't have the same osseointegration features than a titanium implant. But with this, we can come back to the spine market with PEEK, I would say, as the gold standard these days is printed titanium. Besides these enhanced material PEEK, we are working with fiber-reinforced PEEK and bioresorbable polymers. So that's pretty, I would still call it R&D stage. It's in the plating area, so plating solutions for the thoracic field, mid-face plates, hand fracture plates, and depending on what we need here, so virgin PEEK, or if we need it stiffer, we can use these fiber-reinforced implantable PEEK grade, or if we want the resorbable polymer, we can also use that on our platform, having here 4 different types of resorbable polymers targeting plating solutions. Now I want to share some insights about point-of-care printing. Want to look at it from 2 sides. So as you saw already, we are pretty active in the US and also in Europe, and we've seen different regulations here. We have different approaches there, so I want to share both today a little bit. But at the beginning, why are we actually doing that? So why printing at the point of care? It's still discussed a lot, some key or benefits which we see and why bring something at the point of care is improved patient outcome. It's less time in the operating room, reducing costs, supply chain control for the hospital, and we can address unmet patient needs. A few insights in papers and literature which are highlighting these different aspects can be found here. And of course, we have over the next days also feedback or presentations from clinicians. So also happy to hear what the users are actually saying. But we definitely see an improvement for the patients by deploying the technology at the point of care. However, to do that, there's a lot of regulation ongoing. So regulatory is still a big topic for us. In the US, we have the guidance paper, so it's not really established or a law yet. It's just a discussion paper from FDA stating how it could look. There are 3 different options or roadmaps. I will share them in a second. In Europe, we have the MDCG guidance, which we currently try to follow as close as possible. Then Australia is pretty advanced already in regulation. So you see there's a lot of ongoing discussions, regulations, and it's split between US and Europe. So we have currently different approaches. I will start with the US. What we see today there, it's 3 different approaches. So the first is called an MDPS, a medical device production system. A medical device production system consists out of software, hardware, materials, and is only for one intended use. So it's a full end-to-end workflow for one intended use, and you are only allowed to use it for that intended use. So if you develop an MDPS for cranial implants, you cannot use it for spinal cages or whatever it is. Interesting here is it's a full solution which can be cleared by FDA and then deployed at the hospital. However, the legal responsibility lies with the developer of that MDPS. And you still cannot file it, so there's not the FDA is not ready yet for filing these MDPS, but we hope by the end of next year, mid-next year, actively working with these guys on that. We are so in exchange with these guys to hopefully have that done soon. The second is a co-location approach. So we have sitting engineers, for example, from 3 systems at the hospital, which are doing the design work. So we deploy there our quality management system, and we use our FDA or 510K cleared devices to be deployed at the point of care. That's our favorite model right now in the US, and I have also a short presentation about that in a few seconds. And the third one is that the healthcare facility becomes a traditional manufacturer. We see that, for example, at the VA or at Mayo Clinic, that these guys are filing own 510Ks, so they own the device in the end, and it's their responsibility to do everything. However, as I said, our favorite is the co-location, and we have deployed that already successfully in the US. So I brought a short video from the product manager point of care from the US. He couldn't come in person, but that's why we have a 2-minute video. I hope that works. Let's see.
Hello everyone, my name is Devarsh Vyas and I work as a portfolio manager for point of care solutions for 3D systems in the US. I want to talk about industry hospital collaborations that 3D Systems is implementing in the US to enable point of care manufacturing of devices in a safe and effective manner. In this scenario, 3D Systems co-locates at the hospital to execute point of care manufacturing of devices, leveraging its own clearances, quality systems, and trained staff. Now, most hospitals do not have the expertise and resources to comply to stringent quality and regulatory standards for point-of-care manufacturing. And hence, hospital industry collaboration is proving to be an attractive option for hospitals to have cleared devices manufactured at the point of care by leveraging the manufacturer's expertise and clearance. This involves deployment of 3D Systems trained staff on site, getting access to cleared devices, and establishing appropriate quality systems on site. We execute this in two phases, depending on health system's specific needs. In phase 1, which is hybrid manufacturing, our trained staff executes the digital workflow on-site with manufacturing executed at our FDA-registered manufacturing site in the US. And in phase 2, the full workflow is established on-site with the hospital site being registered as 3D Systems manufacturing site, and all the legal responsibility of design and manufacturing will be on 3D Systems. One of the examples here is our collaboration with Clarkson College, a health institution in Nebraska, Omaha, where we are partnering on establishing a center of excellence at Clarkson College to serve multiple hospitals in the local region. This involves deploying 3D Systems trained staff, software solutions, 3D printers, and access to 3D Systems cleared devices such as anatomic models, guides, and radiotherapy accessories on site at Clarkson College. Advantages of executing this co-location model are getting access to FDA-cleared devices and workflows, getting trained staff and resources on site, and it has proven to be the fastest and the safest way to expand to high-risk devices like surgical guides and implants at the point of care.
So that was an example how we are executing that in the US. However, in Europe, we are doing it differently. And I would say we are, especially when we think about implant printing at the point of care, a little bit ahead actually in Europe. So what we're doing here is we're using Article 5.5 of the MDR and partnering or have a strategic partner set up with POCAP. This group will also have a presentation here over the coming days. So we will dive into that a little bit in detail. And what we established together at the point of care is kind of we deploy the hardware and software workflows, a quality management is set up, the production process is development and deployed at the point of care, and a GSPR documentation following MDR Annex 1 is deployed at the point of care. And together with the POCAP group and the University Hospital in Basel, we were working on the first application, which was the cranial implant. So we established that one already in Basel. They had the first surgery on the August 29th this year with a group of Professor Florian Thüringer, led by Neha. She's also giving a presentation during the next days, so we'll dive into that a little bit. And this was the first deployment of this full package. And to prove that it's not only a one-off is we already transferred the same package with the POCAP group to another hospital group in Austria, Salzburg, which have more than 15 surgeries already performed in the last 4 weeks. So can also highlight a webinar here, which you can find on the presentation afterwards, where a little bit insights are shared in these different types of surgeries. But that's already successfully now deployed at the point of care. So as I said, more than 15 surgeries already performed this year, where this type of implant is printed at the point of care. And then I want to come to the next topic for today, a little bit innovative outlook into pharma 3D printing. One of our thoughts is that we use our platform not only for implants, so we are working on enlarging our scope of the platform, so really see it as a platform technology that you can modify that technology for different types of applications. One of the key features here is that we enable a clean room environment inside our machine, and that enables it or makes it pretty attractive for also some other areas besides implant manufacturing. And with that, I want to hand over to Matthias.
Yes, thank you very much, Stefan, for your kind words, and thank you and welcome from my side to the audience. Before I would like to explain you our project, which we did, I think, 3 years ago already with Cumovis and nowadays 3 Systems, I would like to explain you a little bit about Losan Pharma. So Losan Pharma is a mid-sized company located in Neuenburg and Eschbach. This is between Freiburg and Basel, and we are a worldwide operating CDMO. We are delivering our products, meanwhile, in 70 countries over the world. And we believe that the point of care is one of our strategic innovation topics of these days. You see here our 2 sites. So the Neuenburg site is mainly focusing on the bulk manufacturing, whereas the Eschbach site, which is just 10 kilometers away, we are focusing on primary and secondary packaging, as well as now an administration building, which you see in the front of the picture. So let's come to our project, what we did together. It is what I'm showing you today is the results of a master thesis of the last 6 to 8 months. So we believe we need a flexible approach to have a different design of tablets and size. We believe that we need a flexible demand for small batches and low volume products. Rare diseases, I think, is one of the key indications of today. Yes, we're talking about, I would say, more than 10 years of an approach into the personalized medicine, and so far for the pharma, nobody jumped in really. So we have a lot of papers, but no real projects. And therefore, we decided to take the journey with a printer which has a GMP environment. This is something which is important for us, and so far, nobody is really able to do so. Some first projects are started. Well, for us, it's also a key element to have a dedicated printer head and dedicated printing plate, because cross-contamination is a killing argument for us if we have different products. We also decided on the concept to use reusable filaments. And of course, one thing is what we learned also in the journey with the master thesis, the release profiles of these tablets are totally different. So what we did is we performed a case study with domperidone. It's an antiemetic drug you all know because it's against sickness if you travel by ship. Its melting point is 242 degrees. It's insoluble in water, and we have selected this API because of the high melting point, because we want to keep it crystalline and not to get any amorphization during the printing process. Here you see the setup, what we have used. So on the left-hand side, on top, you see our extruder, which is from Thermo Fisher. So we are embedding our API with a totally different polymer like PVA or others with some other excipients into a polymer matrix. And if successful, we spool the filament, and the filament is then adjusted to the 3D printer. And in parallel, with the help of our colleagues, we designed new tablets. Here you see a selection of these 3D printed tablets based on the CAD and slicing software. So in the pharma, of course, everything needs to be analyzed and controlled. So if you see the polymer, the process steps on the left-hand side, which starts with the blending to get the final blend, to get the filament production, and at the end, the printing of the tablets, all this needs to be adjusted and followed with analytical controls like assay purity or the in vitro release, which is one of the hot topics for us because the tablet at the end of the day needs to release the API very fast and immediate. If you consider one of the process parameters where we discussed at the beginning, can we really hold this very close acceptance criteria, which is being predefined by our colleagues with 1.75 plus minus 0.5 millimeter for a filament. This is unusual for us because normally we produce our filaments, we crush them down and compress a tablet. Here we need a high accuracy, and luckily with the help of our colleagues we were able, and here's one example, over 180 seconds, you see we are able to see, we have some fluctuations, it's not possible to avoid this, but these are within the range what we predefined. The second step was, well, what should we do as a kind of design of the tablet? So we discussed intensively, we found out that cylindric shaped tablets are the best choice for the beginning. And then the next discussion is what kind of what we call infill design can be used. If you look at F is of course a design with 0% infill geometry, but this is not suitable because you cannot really print a hollow with a hole inside, the mass is too low. So you need to find a compromise which more goes to A or B with some grids, some holes. And of course, this all depends on the die temperature, which you use as extrusion, the diameter of the die, the width of the extrudate, or the printing speed. All these are parameters which are important to follow and to investigate it. And you see the temperatures at our die are much lower than for the PIC polymers. We're around 150 to 200 degrees, and we even try to bring it more down because, you know, the pharma excipients have a totally different melting range. And we don't like to have these amorphized. This is a second step, but if you amorphize your API, you're in a different topic. So I think I should not or must not say too much about the printer. Stefan explained it very well. Important was for us to work with Cumovus and 3D Systems is the really clean room conditions, because foreign particles for us in the tablets is a no-go. So what we prevent, of course, because of the flow is that because we have movable parts, to remove any foreign particle. And for us, very attractive was also that we can change the filaments from time to time, so we can store them. We can just adjust them, print, take it back in the storage cabinet. It was very attractive for us, and it's still. So here's some important data. Of course, I cannot show you all due to time limitations, but the release from the tablets or from the filaments is very important. Here you see on the left-hand side the release of the final blend. It's called XO32. So you see a very fast release. We get a full release after 10 minutes. And then you see a battery of filaments where always a very good release is obtained. Our requirements is about 80% after 30 minutes. So we are well in this area. And the second slide, you see that we have played with what we call disintegrants. So normally a tablet has some disintegrants to facilitate that once you swallow, that it's opened and release the API. Well, we have seen here in this case, it's controversial. If you add disintegrants, they have no activity at all, because the release mechanism of these tablets is totally different. And I will come to this point later on again. So if you look at the tablets, it's even more pronounced. So you have on the left-hand side, you see the reference listed drug produced by a conventional process with a normal compression machine. You see a very fast release. And if you look at the battery of release profiles beyond, you see that F is the green line, has a very fast release and very complete, but this is not appropriate. That's not the design we can go for. So we are with A and B. B is the red line with about 50% in fill geometry. This is something we need to optimize further. So I think the reality would probably be between 0 and 50. And we need now to play a little bit more to get really release profiles which are valid. And what we have seen in these release profile is that the matrix is also changing. So we should take care, or we need to take care about storage of our filaments. If you store them at what we call accelerated conditions, 40 degrees, 75%, the surface is changing. So we need to take care to store them in a dry environment. Whereas for the tablets, we have seen it's more stable. So the surface is not really changing, so you see the grids are still very clear. At the end of the day, we learned something from this journey, and we are still not through, but we learned that the filaments production is well understood, and we know what to consider for each development. We have a good stability so far over 3 months, and I can tell you also over 6 months now we get good results. The tablets, we understood what parameters needs to be considered. We understood that we have a totally different release mechanism. So the tablets are not breaking. You cannot make a simply hardness tester because they are so flexible still. So that they glue on the vessels. You know, we have dissolution vessels. They glue on the vessels. They are sticking and inhibiting release. So this is something we need to further consider. And so far, we have also over 6 months a good stability. So what we're currently doing is we are optimizing our printing heads together with the colleagues to be faster in the printing itself. And of course, the printing speed is at the end of the day also very important for us to come to a GMP manufacturing. And the last question is, what is the next step towards GMP? I think now we need to find a partner. And that's my goal, who is willing to go with us to the clinical step. And I can tell you this journey is definitely not easy because the pharma world is extremely conservative. I'm trying now for 3 years to get somebody on board, and they are all very interested. But if you come to a specific project, then it's very hard to convince. But we are still optimistic to get a partner on board because we believe that this point of care is the future, the rare diseases is the future, the blockbuster is yesterday. So hopefully, and if you have any ideas and remarks to this, I'm happy to discuss this with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks again. I guess we have some time for questions if there are any. But if
very much for your presentation. Yes, we have received some questions, and I would like to start with the most liked ones on the top. Will we see major innovations regarding the technology instead of incremental small innovations in the next 5 years? Who would like to answer?
I can start. So we're getting this question pretty often actually. So because it's right. We have if we think about the hardware, it's kind of the same for the last years, and yes, there will be some innovations. However, I don't really see major steps. So I guess it's also important that we actually use now the hardware we have and not only think about what could be a cooler printer, but actually do something with it. So it's still not utilized where it should be. We need actually products coming out of the technology we already have. I see major steps in bioprinting, organ printing. There's also internally within 3 Systems a big program around it. It's not really officially. There are a few things published already, but they are aiming for the first printed FDA-cleared organ actually in 4 years. So you find some information around that. It's targeted for kidney, lung, heart. Together with US governments. We are working on that, but it's pretty behind closed curtains, so you will not see not much about that. But I think that will be one of the big major innovations in the next years.
Thank you very much. Any comment?
Just one comment is if the FDA will issue a draft guidance like did for the medical device, I think this will be a big push for pharma. This is not yet the case, so you have a lot of regulatory intricacy, so we need a push.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. Which implementation strategy works best under which circumstances?
I would say it depends mostly on the resources, what we see at the hospital. So we have larger university hospitals, they have staff, they have trained engineers, they have money to spend, they have a budget behind that. Then you can establish or deploy really a setup where everything is done at the hospital. However, we've seen a lot of smaller hospitals which don't have the resources, so we have to train these people in designing an implant, to help them to run the printer, do the maintenance, all that kind of stuff. So that's, I guess, easier to have a co-location, and that's mostly what we see in the US. So it really depends on the resources and the willingness of each group at the hospital, I would say.
Thank you very much. Okay. And the third question, will we see large-scale tablet production based on additive technologies in the future? Matthias?
I don't think so, because you cannot really compete the conventional process in terms of prices and cost of goods. This is impossible, but I think there will be a niche for these technologies, a very attractive niche. I don't think that we can compete with conventional technologies.
Thank you very much. Okay.
He's the expert in that.
Okay, perfect. The blockbuster is yesterday. Can you elaborate on this a little bit?
Well, I think you all have seen in the last few months that Merck announced a drop in a phase 3 trial. It was really very expensive. I think the shares dropped overnight. Bayer now announced a drop of one drug. So the risk in a conventional phase 3 trial is enormous. So you are discussing about $2 billion for development. So what companies are considering now? Look at the diabetes. So for Novo Nordisk, very, very successful now because they have the niche market. Of course, diabetes is not longer a niche market, but it was. So let's discuss about rare diseases. There are more than 200 rare diseases to come. And these are very attractive because you get an additional protection by EU and US for over 7 to 10 years.
Thank you. What are the challenges in requalifying the safety of APIs?
Yeah, the safety of APIs, of course, is also one aspect. I personally believe we can have a good chance with our technology because you have very limited amounts at the beginning of a development, and if you can bring them very fast to the animal trials, which are needed to a certain extent, and human trials, of course, then the safety of APIs is elaborated faster, and we need a whole package. And I think that's a challenge of tomorrow, to be faster and to have less animal trials. Of course, this is the objective.
Okay, thank you very much. 3 more questions, please, short answers.
Sure.
How does regulation in other areas outside US look like? How might it change in the near future?
Yeah, we spoke about Europe. We look into a few other markets like Australia. They kind of do the same what we're doing here in Europe. We see in Saudi Arabia, for example, they wait actually what FDA is doing. So it's more like, hey, is that product cleared? And then we can translate it. So these are the 2 markets we're looking outside US and Europe.
Okay. Why it takes so long to release a MDPS concept? What are the present hurdles?
That would be a question for the FDA, actually. So it's something we are asking ourselves, why it takes so long. I guess they are just, they are pretty conservative on that, so they're overprotective. They like the approach we're taking actually here, like a combination out of different parties. But yeah, it's still FDA is waiting until they release that you can file that MDPS. That's our biggest hurdle right now.
Okay, last question from Eric. What is the problem with conventional tablets that you hope to solve with 3D printing?
Well, it's simple. In a normal tablet, you have to fix the dose, you have to fix the process, and you're not flexible. If you are in the 3D printing approach, you can have a flexible loading of the tablet. Very important for the oncology, where normally you have a treatment, a milligram per kilogram. You cannot do actually a good treatment in oncology because you have a limited amount of dosage forms. This is one aspect.
Thank you very much. Matthias, Stefan, thank you very much for the presentation and for the discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks.